Now that we have the transmitter programmed, I'm going to set up Betaflight to interpret all those messages that the transmitter will be sending. With the flight controller plugged into the computer and Betaflight Modes tab open, find the ARM line and click Add Range. A slider control will appear. Change Auto to aux1. And here, I'm sorry, my screen capture didn't record the pull-down menu, but I think you know how pull-down menus work. Just change where it says Auto to aux1. We want this line to detect the ARM signal while in acro mode, which is 1300. So adjust the slider to cover the range from 1275 to 1325. Now we'll add another range for ARM signal when we are in air mode, which the value for that is going to be 1500. Don't forget to change Auto to aux1 again and set the range to 1475 to 1525. And make sure that both of the pull downs say aux1 and the ones below aux1 say OR. We're going to repeat that process that we just did for 2 more ranges. Both of these, again, should be aux1 as the source and OR is the logic value in the next pull down there. What that does is it'll make sure that motors are armed in any one of these 4 ranges. The targets for them are 1900 for turtle mode and 1700 for angle mode. Next up, we want to add a range for the angle mode. Again, we're going to change Auto to aux1, and the range is going to cover both the armed and disarmed values, plus a little bit of a buffer. So that's going to go all the way from 1575 to 1725, which covers the 2 expected signals of 1600 and 1700. We don't really need to cover the values in between, but I'm not using those values for anything else, so I'm just going to cover up the whole thing for simplicity. Next, scroll down to beeper and add a range to cover 1975 to 2025. aux1 again, of course. And we'll do the same for air mode, aux1, and a range of 1375 to 1525. Later, we're going to add a condition that checks aux2 for the throttle position to override air mode, but this is good enough for now. Next is flip over after crash, or turtle mode. And the values are 1775 to 1925, and aux1, of course. Next is pre-arm. This is on aux2 this time, and the range is going to be from 1975 to 2025. Next up is pit mode. And that's going to be 1100 as the target there, so the range is 1075 to 1125. Last up is launch control. I don't actually care that much about using this, but it's easy to add it, and it might be fun, so I'm going to add it. It applies only to acro mode, launch control does, so I'm going to use the range from 1175 to 1325, which is how I'm going. Those values are going to select acro mode. We have to save our work before we leave the Modes tab, or everything we did will be lost. Now I'll add the condition that turns off air mode when the throttle is high. Back in the Mode tab, I'll find air mode and add a range. And I'll make the channel be aux2. Make both the OR pull downs be AND now. This way both values have to be within the range before air mode will be active. We'll set the range on this second range to 975 to 1025. The TX, the transmitter signal, will be low at 1000 when the throttle is low and 1500 when the throttle is high. That should do it for programming. Now we just have to check our work. We're going to power up the quad, so make sure you take off the props for safety. Then we'll turn the transmitter on and put all 4 of our switches into the full pull position, sort of the all down position, or pulled toward us as far as possible. We'll connect the quad to Betaflight Configurator. Then we'll go to the Modes tab again, and then we'll power up by plugging in a flight pack. And we'll scroll through all the modes and make sure that none are selected. The way you'll know is that all the boxes on the left side that have the names of the modes in them, those will all be gray rather than red or yellow. And we're going to flip the arm switch up, and we should verify that pit mode is on, yellow. Then we'll put the switch back down and verify that the pit mode is deselected again. They should all be gray. Move the group switch now to flight, or the middle position, the flight group. Verify that only launch mode at the very bottom is selected. This means the stabilization mode should be acro, so not air mode and not angle mode. Nothing is activated except launch mode. Then we'll move the flight mode selecting switch to the middle position, and we should see that launch control turns off and that air mode turns on. Now we'll move the flight mode switch even further to the full away position, or the full push position. Verify that air mode turns off and that angle mode is active. Now move the flight mode switch to the full pull position, and you should verify that angle mode turns off again and that launch control is active once again. Now we're going to check the arming for all of the flight modes. So we'll flip the arm switch up, and you should see that the arm box turns red. Move the flight mode selector switch to the middle position. Verify the launch control turns off and that air mode is active and that arm remains red. Now we'll move the flight mode selector switch to the full push position, and we'll verify that air mode turns off, that angle mode is now active, and we still have arm in red. Then we'll flip the arm switch back down, and we'll see that arm is no longer red anymore. Now move the group switch to the full up position, which should be the crash group. Verify flip after crash is selected as on, yellow, and verify that arm remains off. Then push the crash mode selector switch up to position 0, push it away, and you should hear the beeper. And the beeper mode should be active as well. And then we'll put that switch back down and turn off the beeper, and we should see that flip over after crash is selected again. Now we're going to push the arm switch up, and we'll verify that the arm turns red again. And now we'll turn the arm switch down again, verify the arm box is no longer red but gray. Then we'll move the group switch to the full down position, the safe mode, ground mode, and then we should see that no modes at all are selected. Now we're going to look at the pre-arm button, make sure that works. We'll push and hold the pre-arm button and verify that pre-arm mode is yellow selected. Now you can release the pre-arm button and verify that pre-arm mode turns off from yellow to gray. Move the flight mode selector to the middle, or air mode, and verify that air mode is selected. And we're going to check that the throttle position turns air mode off and on the way that it should. So we should see right now that air mode is selected and that the aux2 value should be 1000. Then we're going to move the power up, and as we get toward the middle, we should see the aux2 value changes to 1500 and that air mode now becomes inactive. And that should be true all the way up through the high power settings. And then as you bring the throttle stick back down to the low power setting, air mode should again be active. Here's some DVR that shows the throttle control changing between acro mode and air mode. You can see that during hard climbs and punch outs, high throttle positions, we're in acro mode, and then at the top of those maneuvers, when I start falling, you can see it switches to air mode. Thanks for watching. I hope this was useful.